2023, the United States retail sector processed an unprecedented $743 billion in returned merchandise. This volume accounts for over 14% of total annual sales. But a fraction of these perfectly functional items will ever be restocked. Instead, the global supply chain has quietly optimized for destruction. The system mathematically dictates that incinerating a brand new product is more profitable than attempting to resell it. The apparel sector sustains the heaviest losses, with e-commerce return rates routinely exceeding 30%. Consumer behavior patterns, specifically the practice of ordering multiple sizes to return the misfits, generate a relentless influx of inbound freight. Consequently, distribution centers face continuous structural bottlenecks. Each returned garment represents a logistical liability rather than an asset. The infrastructure required to process this volume simply does not exist at scale. Processing a single returned item costs a retailer between $10 and $20 in manual inspection, repackaging, and outbound freight. This baseline operational expense instantly erases the profit margin on standard consumer goods. Therefore, handling a return becomes an immediate financial hemorrhage for the vendor. Warehouses are forced to allocate premium floor space to inventory of unknown condition. The mathematics of recovery collapse under the weight of manual labor costs. Major e-commerce platforms impose aggressive monthly storage fees on third-party sellers for maintaining unverified stock in their fulfillment centers. This creates a severe, compounding financial penalty for holding on to returned goods. A seller must pay continuous rent on a physical product they cannot legally sell as new. Consequently, retaining inventory becomes a ticking ledger debt. The architecture of modern fulfillment centers is designed to financially penalize stagnation. Faced with mounting storage fees and exorbitant reverse logistics costs, vendors execute a calculated operational protocol. Within their digital seller dashboards, they routinely select the automated disposal option for untouched inventory. This directive triggers the immediate destruction of pristine goods directly at the warehouse level. It is not an environmental oversight. It is a precise, mathematically sound business decision, executed millions of times a day. The destruction of inventory is not simply a desperate cost-saving measure. It is a highly lucrative tax strategy. Under current Internal Revenue guidelines, corporations can legally classify incinerated or discarded merchandise as a formal business loss. This financial reclassification transforms a logistical failure into a deductible asset. By declaring thousands of pristine items as destroyed, retailers actively erase staggering portions of their taxable income. The tax code effectively subsidizes the systemic vaporization of new products. But physical destruction on domestic soil leaves a highly auditable paper trail. Therefore, the retail industry developed a shadow supply chain designed to export the liability across borders. Millions of tons of unsold fast fashion are compressed into industrial bales and shipped overseas under the guise of charitable donations. This volume moves undetected through global customs using a very specific international tariff classification, HS code 6309. Consequently, the legal definition of worn clothing provides an impenetrable cover for dumping brand new, overstocked inventory into developing nations. The true scale of this regulatory blind spot is physically carved into the geography of the Southern Hemisphere. In the Atacama Desert near Alto Hospicio, Chile, at least 60,000 tons of discarded apparel sit in a sprawling, unauthorized exclusion zone. The accumulation is so vast that commercial satellites routinely capture its expansion using 50-centimeter high-resolution optics. Local municipalities possess neither the infrastructure nor the jurisdiction to process this imported crisis. The desert has simply become an offshore ledger for international retail giants. The systemic offloading continues across the Atlantic, targeting deeply vulnerable economic zones. The Kantamanto Market in Accra, Ghana, absorbs an intake of 15 million discarded garments every single week. This translates to roughly 225,000 tons of foreign textile runoff, crushing a single local economy annually. But a staggering 40% of these imported bales are immediately classified as unsellable waste upon opening. Therefore, the destination is not a secondary market, but a subsidized terminal landfill. The physical burden of this supply chain anomaly falls squarely on unregulated manual labor. Female migrant workers navigate the suffocating corridors of the Accra markets, carrying 120-pound bales of Western fast fashion on their heads. They perform this grueling transportation for daily wages of less than $2. The corporations generating this volume never log these individuals on their payrolls or internal safety audits. The global illusion of free returns is ultimately financed by untracked physical suffering thousands of miles away. The architecture of supply chain refunds relies on a calculated destruction allowance. According to retail audit data, corporations can legally incinerate 1 to 5% of inexpensive inventory and still receive a full distributor refund. They execute this maneuver without ever shipping the physical item back to the point of origin. Consequently, the supply chain operates on a ghost ledger, where discarded products exist financially, but vanish physically. The system financially incentivizes the retailer to securely eliminate the evidence of overproduction. But this physical vaporization generates highly measurable atmospheric consequences. Environmental monitoring around global textile dumps recently revealed airborne microplastic concentrations up to 100 times greater than those reported in major metropolises. This anomaly is directly caused by the rapid chemical degradation of millions of synthetic garments baking in open-air pits. Therefore, the destruction is not contained. It is actively shredding into the local respiratory infrastructure. The offshore ledger is physically rewriting the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Retailers are mathematically bound to this destructive cycle by their own consumer acquisition metrics. An industry study revealed that 79% of shoppers are more likely to make repeat purchases if free returns are unconditionally offered. Consequently, corporations are trapped in a feedback loop of subsidized waste that they cannot afford to terminate without losing market share. They must maintain the illusion of consequence-free shopping at any logistical cost. The consumer receives the convenience, but the global ecosystem absorbs the physical deficit. The exact operational mechanics of this disposal network remain heavily guarded by corporate non-disclosure agreements. The unredacted disposal contracts and volume quotas between major e-commerce platforms and third-party industrial liquidators are legally shielded from public audit. Furthermore, the specific dollar amount of corporate tax write-offs claimed globally under the guise of lost e-commerce returns is deliberately obfuscated. Regulators cannot penalize a financial mechanism they cannot legally quantify. The true scale of the vaporization is buried deep within proprietary accounting software. Ultimately, the classification of brand new inventory as waste is not a failure of logistics. It is the highly optimized endpoint of a system that values digital ledger balances over physical resources. As long as international tariff codes provide a legal extraction route, the industrial shredders will never stop running. The law didn't fail. It functioned exactly as designed. Don't forget to subscribe to Leviathan Files and stay ahead of the systems designed to remain unseen.